Wherever you are, make your way over to your mat and let's lay down. Okay, so the most important thing today is to meet yourself where you are in this moment. We'll start by finding a comfortable spot on our mats. Now, if it feels good to lay down on your back, you can choose to do that. Or maybe today you feel like starting in a seat or laying on your belly. Wherever you are, just get nice and comfortable. So if you're on your back, if your lower back is bothering you, you can bring the knees so they're pointing up to the sky, maybe putting some space between the feet and then just gently letting the knees fall in towards each other. And that gives your lower back a little bit of a release there. And you can also take a traditional Savasana pose, which is laying flat on the back. Feel free to be really creative here. What we're just looking for is a place where you can feel nice and balanced and also comfortable. So keep in mind any spots that might be bothering you today. Give yourself a little extra leeway and find a super comfortable spot. And then see if you can relax into stillness here just for a couple minutes. Now, first, just start to notice how your breath is feeling. If you're laying on your back, maybe you're noticing your back pushing against the ground every time you breathe in. And then a gentle release of pressure as you exhale. See if you notice any sensations associated with the breath anywhere in the body. Maybe you're feeling your lungs expanding and contracting. Maybe you feel your shoulders moving up and down. Or maybe you feel it in your belly or your ribs. And then as you're breathing in and out, stretch your breath out and imagine that as you breathe in, your breath is filling up your whole body all the way down to your tippy toes. And on your exhale, imagine it going the other way, coming all the way from your tippy toes, emptying out every last speck out through your nose, or if your nose is stuffy, you can breathe in and out of your mouth. Now, holding on to your nice full breath, do a little check in throughout your body, noticing any areas, any tender spots, any areas you want to be careful of today. Maybe thinking back to recall if you have any injuries that you want to be extra careful of, if your knees are bothering you, just keep that at the front of your mind. Being extra gentle with those body parts that need some TLC today. And then also see if you can find any areas where you feel strong today. Think of what your strengths are. And maybe holding on to that thought of what your strengths are today will help you push yourself in those areas where you really feel like you have that ability to become stronger, more balanced. And once you've gone through your whole body, just doing your daily check in, come back to your breath and take a couple more big, full, deep breaths here, just being inside of your body. blinking the eyes open. Bring your hands up overhead and take a big, good morning stretch. Try stretching your legs out a little bit longer, stretching your arms as much as you can. Take a big breath in here. And as you breathe out, come into a ball, bringing the knees up to the chest, wrapping the arms around the legs. And if it feels good, lifting your head up, bringing your forehead towards your knees. Squeeze everything as tight as you can together. On your next inhale, come back into a big good morning stretch, legs stretched out long, arms up overhead. Big breath in here. And on the exhale, curling tight into a ball. Take your time, wrapping your arms, lifting your forehead up, squeezing everything together. And then release your head, dropping the head back down to the mat, bringing the hands to the kneecaps. Move the knees around here. Just noticing how the lower back is feeling against the ground. Noticing all those places the lower back is touching the ground here as you move around in a circle. And of course, we want to try circles going both ways. And then coming back to center. Keep one knee up to your chest, and we're going to let the other leg slide back down to its spot on the mat. And then we're going to bring this knee that's still up, and we're going to cross it over our body. You can drop that foot down. Maybe the knee comes down to the ground, or maybe the knee is still kind of up a little bit above the ground there. You can tuck your fingers in the crease of that knee if that feels good. And this other hand is reaching out to the side, either straight out to the side, or you can reach the hand a little bit up overhead if that feels better. You don't have to rest your arm all the way on the ground. You can also just tent the fingers there, just resting the fingers. Bring the gaze over to that other hand to complete your twist here. And let's try the other side, releasing that hand out to the side. Bring this knee back into center, up to the chest. And switch sides. Other knee comes in to join it. Let that first leg slide back down to its spot on the mat. And then we're going to cross this knee over the body, dropping the foot down, rolling onto that hip. Fingertips can tuck in the crease of that knee. This hand coming out to the side. You can just drop those fingers down on the mat, keep the arm up, or you can let your elbow come to rest on the ground, or you can also goal post your arm, just bringing the hand up, fingers pointing up overhead, any of those that feels good. And release, bring your knee back into your chest. Other leg comes to join it one more time. Wrap your arms around your legs. Take a big breath in. On the exhale, curling tight into a ball, squeezing everything together. And then release your head back down to the mat. Tuck the fingers in the creases of both knees and rock and roll forward and back along your spine a few times, making your way up to a seat. You can also go with the breath here on the inhales, rolling back, and as you exhale, coming back up to a seat. All right. Coming into easy pose here. If you like, you can scoot back on your mat so you've got some space there in front of you to stretch your hands forward. And then find a nice comfortable cross-legged position here. You can have your feet and your knees both on the ground so your feet are kind of open a little bit more. Or you can come a little tighter, tucking the feet underneath the knees. Anything that feels nice. And then let's drop our fingers down on the mat. Take a big breath in and sit up nice and tall. On your exhale, start to fold forward. Imagine making a triangle with the ground and your arms and your spine. Take your time on your way down. And then wherever you find your edge, you can relax into that fold, going down as far as you feel comfortable, and then rounding out the back, letting the forehead come down towards the ground, And if you like, you can also drop your elbows down to the mat, let your arms relax. Take a couple big, full, deep breaths here. Anytime you're in a forward fold like this, holding the pose and breathing, you can always lift up your torso just a little bit to take a breath. That just gives your lungs a little bit more room to expand. So you can just go in and out with the breath. Inhale, lifting up and just letting your lungs have some room. And exhale, relaxing back down into the fold. On your next breath in, walk your hands back, pushing yourself back up to a seat. And then drop your hands down to your lap, maybe resting your hands in the center of your lap or on your knees. Then start to warm your neck up. You can start with a really simple movement, just kind of a little side to side movement, checking in here. And then that sort of naturally transitions into a sort of a half circle, a U shape. You can make that by dropping the chin down towards the chest, lifting the head up, one shoulder to the other. And you can also make that U shape along the back of your neck, just letting your head relax back. And then perhaps you want to turn that into a full circle all the way around. And for this one, you can either go one direction for a while and then switch, or maybe it feels better just to switch directions every time you make a circle. That's also okay. Going one way and then the other, one way and then the other. Maybe comparing the different noises you hear inside of the neck when you're going from one direction to the other. And then make your way back up to a neutral spine. And let's come into a little twist here. We're going to bring one hand behind us. I like to tent my fingers back there, but you can also plant your palm if that feels good. And this other hand resting on the ground in front of us. Or maybe going a little deeper into the twist, crossing over to the opposite knee. Take a big breath in and sit up really tall. On your exhale, go deeper into the twist. Maybe you can even bend your elbows and peek over your back shoulder. So we can do that a couple more times with our breath. Inhaling, sitting up nice and tall, coming out of the twist a little bit. And exhaling, deepening into the twist. Once again, lifting up on the spine. Take a big breath in. As you breathe out, bending the elbows, peeking over the shoulder, deepening into the twist. Release. Come back to center. And let's try the other side. Bringing our other hand behind us, just tenting those fingers or maybe planting the hand on the mat. We can drop these fingers down right in front of us, or we can cross that hand over the opposite knee. Take a big breath in, sit up nice and tall. Exhale, bending the elbows, twisting deeply, peeking behind you. Go in and out with your breath a couple more times, lifting up on the spine to breathe in. And deepening into the twist as you breathe out. One more time, just listen to your breath. Go at the pace of your breath. And then release. Coming back to center. Let's switch our legs. Front leg comes to the back, and we're going to push that back leg out in front. Same choices here, but you can take a different one on this side if that's what feels right to you. Trying to bring the feet a little bit more open, both feet, both knees on the ground, or tucking the feet underneath the knees. Anything that feels right there. And then forward fold, dropping the fingers down on the mat. Take a big breath in and sit up nice and tall. And then as you breathe out, folding forward, walking the fingers out. Take your time on your way down. Just being honest with yourself. Find that edge. This is the point. You're not going to go any farther. Relax into the fold, rounding out the back, relaxing the forehead towards the ground, and possibly dropping the elbows down onto the mat. If you like, you can lift up with each breath just a little bit, lifting up your chest, opening up and making room for the lungs to expand. Take a big breath in. And as you breathe out, letting yourself relax back down into the fold. You can do that a couple more times. On an inhale, walk your hands back, pushing yourself back up to a seat. Let's do a little seated version of our cat-cow. For this one, you can have your hands cupping outside of the knees. Relax your arms a little bit. And then moving with your breath. As you breathe in, you're going to roll the shoulders down and back, and then arch the back, leaning your head back, peek up to the sky. On your exhale, start to push your spine out behind you. Start from the very base of the spine. See if you can feel your vertebrae one at a time pushing out behind you, and relax your head and neck down. So just tie this movement to your breath. Inhale to roll the shoulders down, arch the back, and lean your head back, peek it up to the sky. Exhale, pushing the vertebrae out behind you, one vertebrae at a time, relaxing your head and neck down. Keep going at the pace of your own breath. Just listening to your breath. Bringing the body in harmony with the breath. Come back on your next inhale, making your way to a neutral spine. And let's transition to hands and knees tabletop. So for this one, you can plant your hands and then just roll over the knees, or you can swing your legs around to one side. And take a moment to set up here. We want to line up our wrists right underneath our shoulders so we're giving ourselves a nice solid base of support there. And then we can have a tiny little micro bend in our knuckles, not pushing down through the palms, but pushing down through the pads at the ends of the fingers and then the curve at the bottom of the palm. And let's stretch our legs a little bit. Bring the knees together to touch right underneath the hips and step one foot back. Tuck your toes under. You can push through your heel. Maybe find a little back and forth movement here. Stretching out that leg. And switch sides. Bring that knee back to center. Drop the knee down on the mat. Step the other foot back, tucking the toes under. Pushing through the heel. Find some movement. Just noticing how that leg, that back leg feels. And release, bringing that knee back down. Hands and knees tabletop. Lift one leg up. Pushing through the sole of the foot. Imagine that you're stamping it into a wall behind you. If it's okay, we can lift our opposite arm up as well. Taking a big breath in to stretch your arm and leg out really long. And on the exhale, releasing them back down to their spots in the mat. Take your time to find that nice, neat alignment again before you try the other side. Inhale, lifting the other leg up. Push through the sole of the foot like you're stamping it into a wall behind you. And if it's okay on your balance, lift your opposite arm as well. Big breath in here to take a stretch out long. And then on the exhale, releasing hand and knee back down to their spots on the mat. Now let's try to tie that movement to the breath. Breathing in, lift your arm and leg up, or maybe just the leg. Exhale, releasing back to the mat. Inhale, switching sides. Exhale, release. Let's try a couple more times on either side. Take your whole breath to complete each movement. Nice, slow, deliberate movements and long, deep breaths. And once you've done both sides evenly, come back down to the mat. Let's put some space between the knees and make our way to child's pose, pushing the hips back toward the heels, just letting your upper legs rest on your lower legs. And then relax your upper body down towards the mat. Your forehead can come to rest on the mat and the elbows. Close your eyes and check in with your breath. On your next inhale, lifting back up to tabletop. Let's make our way all the way up to standing. Coming into mountain pose here. We'll start by bringing our big toes together to touch. A little bit of space between the heels. If that doesn't feel good for you, you can also take a mountain pose with some space between your feet, kind of bringing the feet on two different train tracks. So both of those are correct versions of mountain pose. There's no right or wrong there. Whichever one feels better inside of your body. And then roll the shoulders down the back. Let your arms dangle down. We can bring some action into our palms, bringing the hands, palms facing forward, or you can just let your arms rest by your sides here. Lift up on the spine, and then close your eyes for a minute and bring all your awareness to your feet. We can start by just lifting up our toes, spreading them out, and then setting them back down again and rocking back and forth really, really gently. Not enough so that you actually lose your balance, but enough to feel all the nerve endings that are making contact with the earth. Feel all those points on your feet pressing into your mat. And feel how your weight is shifting front to back, side to side. See if you can notice the spaces under your feet that don't bear that weight. The center of your arch, underneath your toes. Each of your toes has a little arch. And then find stillness. See if you can push down through all four corners of both of your arches. Lift up on your spine, keeping the shoulders pushing down the back. Imagine you feel a string pulling the top of your head up to the sky, stretching you as tall as you can be. And then let's blink our eyes open. On a breath in, sweep your hands up overhead. Look up, bring the hands together. Exhale, bringing hands through heart center. Release the palms down by the sides. Once again, inhale, sweeping the hands up. Exhale, hands together, bringing hands through heart center, releasing the palms by your side. Let's make our way to warrior two. Bringing hands to the hips. You can set up your feet. One foot is going to be pointing straight towards the short end of the mat, and then we're going to step this other foot back wherever it feels comfortable. You want a nice wide stance, but exactly how wide it ends up being is going to depend a lot on how your hips are feeling and your knees. Just let your body tell you how wide your feet feel good when they're set out there. Our back foot pointing straight towards the long edge of the mat, and that front heel can intersect the center of the back foot or the back heel. And we have a nice deep bend in our front knee, lifting up on the spine. Make sure the spine is centered right over the hips, and then bring the arms up. Peek at the back end, making sure it's nice and high. Gaze comes right to the front middle finger. And here we can move with our breath. Yoga jumping jacks. Inhale, straightening out the front knee, bringing the hands up overhead. Exhale, bending the knee and lowering back down to warrior two. Keep going, stretching out your movement so that your movement is taking your whole breath. Inhale to come up. And exhale back down again. Just find your own pace here, whatever the pace is that your breath is setting for you. And remember that everybody breathes at their own rate. We're all living in our own bodies. So just listen to that pace that your breath is setting and stretch your movement out to match the breath. One more time. Inhale to come up and back down again. Breathing out. And let's switch sides. Drop the hands to the hips. Straighten out the front knee and turn those toes also toward the long edge of the mat. And then peek down at your other foot, pivoting that foot around, bringing the toes pointing towards the other short end, bending that front knee, and checking in with our alignment here. So our legs may not be the same length. Sometimes people have different length legs. So you might want to have a different length of your stance here. Front heel, again, intersecting the back heel or the back arch. Spine centered above the hips, and the arms come up. Peeking at the backhand, making sure it's nice and high. Bringing the gaze right to the front middle finger and moving with the breath. Inhale to straighten out the front knee, bring the hands up overhead. Exhale, bending the knee and lowering back down to warrior two. Keep going. Maybe you notice differences here, one side to the other. Maybe they feel pretty similar. Maybe you feel like you want to go faster or slower on one side or the other. Just see what it is that's calling your attention here. What sort of sensations you're noticing inside of your body. One more inhale to come up. Back down again as you breathe out and release. Drop the hands down to the hip. Make your way back to Tadasana, mountain pose. Wiggle the legs out a little bit. And let's try out a Ragdoll Pose. Ragdoll Pose is a really nice spinal release. In Ragdoll Pose, it's a forward fold. We have our feet about hip width distance apart, maybe a little bit more, a little bit less, depending on how it feels inside of your body. And then we breathe in and bring our hands up. And on the exhale, fold forward, bend your knees a little bit to bring your upper body down. And once you get down, you've relaxed your head and neck. Reach your hands out and grab onto opposite elbows. Just letting your arms, your head, your neck dangle down. And then maybe you want to find some movement here. So you can go one leg at a time, bending one knee and straightening the other leg. And it gives you a little bit of a swaying motion. Notice how gravity is pulling your spine the opposite way that it usually does. So usually we're walking around with our head up high and our feet down on the ground, and gravity's pulling our spine from our head towards our feet. But now gravity is helping our spine to open up a little bit. Before you release, just notice how your arms are crossed here, which one's in front. And then we'll come back in a little bit and we'll cross our arms the other way. Let's see if that feels a little different. Bring weight to the fingertips down at the mat and heel to your feet, bringing them back together. And then bend your knees. Inhale to standing. Let your arms dangle down. Unroll your spine one vertebrae at a time. Exhale, coming into mountain pose. Let's take a little seated break here, making your way down to a comfortable seat. If easy pose is not comfortable for you, you can also just have your legs out anywhere they feel good. And maybe you want to take this particular breath break here with your feet crossed the awkward way, just to give your body a little bit of time experiencing that different sensation there. Hands can rest on the knees or in the lap, palms facing up or down. You can rock side to side, back and forth, and find a comfortable place of stillness and then close your eyes. Noticing your breath. So we did a little breathing exercise at the very beginning on our backs, and we felt all those sensations of our breath as we were laying on our back. And then we took a little breath break in child's pose. And now we're seated and noticing our breath. See if there's different sensations you feel here. If not, that's also okay. We're just seeing what it is that calls our attention, how the breath is moving through the body and moving the body as you're laying down or seated. The breath is so important and it's always with us. It's something we can all Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Also, thank you so much for letting me know. Okay, so we're doing, for this one, we're going to do a one-legged chair pose. All weight comes to one leg. On a breath in, lift the arms up and the knee up overhead. The arms up overhead and the knee up high. And on the exhale, bring your hands to heart center and then cross this ankle over your opposite knee. Start to bend your standing leg and sit low in your chair, bending the hips. You can even lean your torso forward a little bit to help a little bit with the balance. And maybe drop the elbows down to the upper leg. If you're still high, that's okay as well. You can be high or low, anywhere that feels good. This one really starts to raise my breath rate. Breathing starts to go pretty quick, pretty fast here. And let's release on a breath in. See if you can come back up, lift the knee up and the arms overhead. And then shake it out. And let's try the other side. All weight coming to this leg. Breathing in, lift the knee high and the arms up overhead. Exhale, bringing hands to heart center, crossing the ankle over the opposite knee, bending the knee, and then sitting low in your chair, maybe leaning forward, just bringing the torso forward. Really helps with the balance there. So maybe you can even drop the elbows down. Focus on your breath. And then on a breath in, release, coming back up, lift the knee up and the arms overhead. And exhale, shake it all out. Whew. Okay, one more balancing pose today, and then we'll take our ragdoll with our arms crossed the opposite way, and a little breath break. I'll wait. This one is tree pose. I'll wait coming to one leg. We're going to turn this leg so the knee is pointing straight out to the side. You can have your hands on your hips to set up your feet. You can bring the toes to the ground, sole the foot against the ankle. If that feels pretty good and you feel pretty balanced here, you can lift your foot up, bringing the heel right underneath the knee. I like to tuck it in this little curve right here under the knee, right on that calf muscle. Feels pretty good to me. Kind of cradles the heel. And then if that feels pretty good and you're feeling pretty flexible, you can come all the way up to the top position here, right on the thigh, toes pointing straight down. So anywhere your foot is fine there. And then once you feel steady on the feet, we're in tree pose here so we can imagine our branches are growing up, lifting the arms up. Anywhere the arms want to stop is fine. There's lots of different positions people like to hold their hands in when they're in tree pose. I like to have my fingers together right overhead. Some people like to bring their palms together overhead or arms straight out to either side. And then another one is hands at heart center. That's a pretty popular one. Anywhere they want to be. And take one last big breath in, stretch up really tall. And exhale, release and shake it all out. Yeah, let's do the other side of tree pose and then we'll take a seated break and we'll do lots of things that don't involve our knees for the rest of our class. Okay, I'm trying tree pose on the other side. Toes on the ground, sole of the foot on the ankle, heel underneath the knee, or all the way up on the thigh. And then wherever the hands want to be is fine. You can also take a different hand placement option on this side than you did on the first side. Maybe this side feels much more steady than the other side, or maybe it feels more wobbly. And that can affect where you want to put your hands. And take one last big breath in. And then release, shaking it all out. Okay, trying ragdoll with our arms crossed the opposite way. Feet about hip width distance apart. Breathing in to come up. Exhale. You can bend your knees a little, relaxing the upper body down, and then Reaching for opposite elbows, crossing our arms the awkward way, gently rock side to side. Really nice and slow, just letting your whole upper body dangle down. Let gravity pull all the kinks out of your spine. And then release, dropping the fingertips to the mat, heel till the feet back together, bend the knees, rise up to standing, unrolling the spine. Exhale, coming into mountain pose. All right, taking our last breath break, and then we'll do our cool down and a meditation. So you can take this break in a seat with your legs crossed, with your legs out, or maybe you just want to rest your feet on the ground. Just anywhere that your legs feel good, especially if your knees are bothering you. Find any comfortable position for the knees. Resting your hands on your lap. Close your eyes and check in with your breath. So one of my techniques when I just want to meditate, and sometimes it feels very difficult to clear the mind of all thoughts. One of the things that I use is breath counting, and that's just finding a rhythm for the breath. So maybe this is in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. Or maybe it's a count of 5 or 6, or maybe all the way up to a count of 8. That's something you can try right now if you like. See if you can find a cadence for your breath, whatever speaks to you, whatever makes sense in your own mind, matching the beat of your breath. Sometimes when we're presented with a volatile situation, maybe at work or at home, where somebody becomes upset, sometimes all we need is just a few seconds, maybe even 30 seconds to a minute to ourselves to help calm ourselves down so that we can react or respond to the situation in a calm way. And using these breathing techniques during those times is very, very helpful for me. Just bringing all your awareness to the breath and counting your breath and just focusing all of your attention there. Just to give yourself a momentary lapse from whatever is stressing out around you. Let's blink our eyes open and we'll do our cool down and a little meditation here. So we're going to start by stretching our legs out long, just resting your legs comfortably on your mat here. You can have your feet together or you can have your feet apart. We're going to come into a forward fold. So especially if your knees are bothering you or you have tight hips or legs, this pose might seem like you can't come into it very deeply, but it doesn't really matter how deep you come into it. What matters is where you're feeling it in your body and how much you're feeling it in your body. So whenever you find that spot where it's enough, that's all you want to feel the stretch for today, you can just stop right there. It doesn't even matter where you are. We're going to start by coming into staff pose by bringing our thumbs underneath us, rocking side to side, and then lifting up on the spine, pushing down through the curve in the bottom of the palm. You might want to have a little bend in the elbows here, or maybe it feels good to straighten the arms out all the way. Keep a little bend in the knees here. We don't want to lift the heels up off the mat. We can be active in our legs. And then with a breath in, releasing just the hands, bring your hands up overhead. Exhale into the fold, keeping the spine really long, hinging from the hips. Remember, don't worry about how far you go down, even if you feel like you're leaning over just a tiny bit. If that feels like a pretty good stretch to you, then you're definitely far enough into the pose. You can let your hands rest on the mat or on your legs, or if you're pretty flexible, you can also wrap them around the soles of your feet, around the sides of the feet, and then just relax your head and neck. So just like all our other poses, we can go in and out of this pose with the breath on your inhale, lifting up your chest just a little bit. You can push your shoulders down and open up your chest to make room for the lungs to expand and fill up with air. And then on your exhale, just relaxing back into the pose, using that extra space that you're creating by pushing the air out to really get deeper into your stretch. Inhale to lift up. Exhale to go deeper into the fold. Remember that the key to a good yoga practice is authenticity. Being honest with yourself about what your abilities are, and also being honest about what your limitations are in each day. On your next inhale, walk your hands back, lifting up your chest, and then bring your hands behind you, fingers pointing towards the hips. Pop the feet down on the ground, knees pointing up towards the sky. A little bit of space between the feet. Take a big breath in. And as you exhale, just drop your knees down to one side. So you can go with the breath just like that. Inhale, lift the knees up. Exhale, dropping them down the other way. Keep going just a couple more times. Really nice release for the hips here. And let's come into boat pose. So for this one, boat pose, we can have our feet together or apart. And then you're going to clasp onto your knees. You can hold onto one leg with each hand, or you can clasp your hands together and hold onto both legs. And then sit up really tall, pushing the shoulders down, leaning back a little bit to get all that extra length in your spine. So you can stay right here. If this already feels like a stretch, if it already feels good, stay right here. If you want a little bit more of an intense core workout, you can release your hands, keeping your spine long, and tuck your fingers in the creases of both knees, and then lean back to float your feet. If that doesn't feel good, just keep those feet on the ground. That feels good. Maybe you even want to release the hands. A little bit more of a core workout there. Really feel that burn inside of your core. Take one last big breath in. And release, dropping the feet down. Let's rock our legs side to side one more time to release the hips. So you can go all the way down to the ground, or you can also just keep your legs up above here. And then let's come all the way down onto our backs. Back where we started. Making our way into a cannonball pose again, drawing the knees to the chest, wrapping the hands around the legs. Take a big breath in. And exhale, curling tight into a ball, squeezing everything together. Releasing the head back down to the mat. You can do some circles here. And find circles going both directions. And let's come into a supine twist. This time we're going to do our twist with both legs. So we can release our arms out to one side, out to the sides, or we can also have our arms goal posted so we have a bend in the elbows, and then float the legs up in a tabletop. Take a big breath in. On the exhale, drop the legs down to one side. We're shooting for about a 90-degree angle in the knees and hips, but if that's not realistic, you can have them a little bit wider. And then we can tuck those fingers in the crease of the top knee. And if it feels okay on the neck, turn the gaze over, looking over to your opposite hand. And let's try that on the other side, releasing this hand out to the side, breathing in to lift the legs up. And as you breathe out, dropping the knees down the other way, all the way to the ground, fingertips tucking in the crease of the top knee, and the gaze coming over to the opposite hand. You can also goal post this hand, bending the elbow and bringing the hand up. Release that top hand back out to the side. Bring the legs up to center on a breath in. And then release, dropping them down, making your way to Savasana. So we're coming back into the same position we started here, which is to say, any comfortable position. If Shavasana doesn't feel good to you on your back, you can also take this ending meditation in a seat or on your belly or laying on your side or in child's pose. Really, the most important thing is that you find a really comfortable place to relax. I was taught by my teacher when I went through my yoga teacher training program that Shavasana is the most important pose because it's where your body is incorporating all the information that you just took in during your practice. So just listen to your body and find whatever it is that is the most comfortable place you can be at this time, whatever that looks like. And then see if there's any adjustments you can make so that you can completely relax into stillness. Release your body. Feel yourself melting into the ground. Feel the ground underneath you, a full plane of support. Your yoga mat, and then probably the floor. And then underneath that, the earth, supporting your whole body, every last ounce of you. Release your breath. Just return back to natural breathing. Feel your breath gently flowing in and out, not in a forced way, just very gentle, easy, and relaxed. And release your mind. So maybe you can clear your mind completely, but if not, that's okay. We can just imagine that our thoughts going through our mind are like little fishies swimming by us in a river. We see them swimming around and then they swim downstream and disappear. Gone from view. Just let them swim away and be replaced by something new. We're going to have a few minutes of stillness here, silent meditation to complete our flow. And then after our Shavasana, we'll just do a couple last poses together to shake our yoga off. Bring your awareness back to your breath, taking some deeper inhales and exhales, bringing some movement into your fingers and toes. You can roll your wrists and ankles, rock your head side to side. If you want, you can take a big good morning stretch with your hands up overhead. And then slowly start to make your way back up to a comfortable seat. And let's come into a forward fold, lifting the hands up overhead. Take a big breath in. Exhale, folding forward, releasing the fingertips down, stretching the hands out in front of you, and relaxing your upper body down. Inhale back up to a seat. Float the hands all the way up. Exhale, come into a side stretch, bringing one hand down. Walk your fingers out. Let the opposite arm come arcing overhead. Maybe bending, straightening this elbow. And then try the other side, breathing in to come up. Exhale, down the other way. Inhale back up to a seat. Exhale, release hands in the lap. Thank you all so much for joining me today for yoga. Sorry about the batteries. I'll see you guys all next week. Have a great week.